everybody. It's Suzanne Spooner, QHHT Level 3 practitioner in Des Moines, Iowa. And I have a new session to share with you. There is a little story to this. I've been sitting on this session for almost exactly 1 year. And I was trying to remember why I did that. I think because the material is so good, I was also contemplating putting it into a book format, which I might do, but it's just so good. I'm going to go ahead and share it with you today. So I'm calling this the Dave Chronicles. Dave is the subject. He's amazing. I met Dave and his wonderful wife on my and Sarah Breastman Cosme's very first tour that we took to Egypt a few years ago. So Dave's amazing. He's just the sweetest, kindest, most humble human being. And he had some very big experiences in Egypt. So we wanted to explore those, and that was really the purpose of this session. He had had a prior QHHT session with a beautiful colleague of mine, Erica, and that was before he went to Egypt. And his high self kind of shut him down in that session about giving him information about why he had this strong connection to Egypt. So he goes and has this experience. It's mind-blowing. And he's got more questions afterwards. So that was kind of the premise of this session. But he has a lifetime in this session as a blacksmith back in the early times of the United States. And he calls it kind of a boring life, but we get a lot of information about why that life was important for him to see. His high self is just top level. So good. He had some healing issues about hearing, about an AFib, a few other little things. But he gets really, really good deep information about free will. Oh my gosh, about Egypt, but so much more comes into that session. And his high self just has this kind of smooth, vibey voice. It's fun to listen to. I think you'll like it all. Okay, so that's what I got for you. Oh, and Dave Chronicles. We've done another session since. So I'm thinking this might be more than one, part one, part two, maybe more. It's just, he's lovely. So, and he's so sweet to let us listen in on this amazing session. Okay, so that is that. There's a lot to update you on. Speaking of Egypt, Sarah and I just released our September 2025 tour. We're about halfway full on that one. So go to ancientlifetimes.com if you want to look into that tour and sign up sooner rather than later, because it's going to sell out. And our May tour has a few new openings to it. So we've switched things around a little bit, which is really cool, because I have a new grandbaby coming into our family. We're so excited, and it has decided to arrive right around the May Egypt 2025 tour. So I'm going to stay home to be of assistance there. And we have brought in, Sarah and I have asked a special guest host to pop in for that trip. She's amazing. Christy Wilson is her name, and she's one of Sarah's main subjects that Sarah's using for her newest upcoming book. So they're going to share some information about that in the tour. It's amazing. And they're going to put Christy under so folks can ask questions of Christy's high self. So it'll be a fun experience in May with Sarah and Christy. And then back in September, then Sarah and I will be back together for that tour. ancientlifetimes.com for that. Let's see here. What else do I want to tell you? Oh, I started a Rumble channel with all of my YouTube clips because this platform has decided to take down one of my most favorite sessions for like stupid reasons. So you can find me on Rumble at Suzanne Spooner Official. there. If you want to listen to the naughty session that had just the most mind-blowing information, feel free to go there to listen to it. It's called a Galactic Special Team of Misfits. It's Kat, our friend Kat. If you've listened to that session way in the past, a couple of years ago when I uploaded it, it's a great one to go back and listen to. You'll get even more information from it. So that is there. I asked recently a question on my last clip. I made kind of a short clip, thinking maybe you guys would rather have shorter clips and not spend the time to listen to the long ones. But overwhelmingly, the opinion was you guys like the long ones. So that's great. I'm happy that you do, and I'm happy that you guys get so much out of them. So that's why we're back to these long sessions here in the Dave Chronicles. So I will put out from time to time some shorter clips for those of you that prefer that. But overall, it was a big, long session request after that question. Okay, I think that's all I've got in my notes here. I think you'll love this tour and the deep dive into Egypt and Dave's super cool high self. All right. You can find me at SuzanneSpooner.com. The Egypt trips are ancientlifetimes.com. And the Rumble channel is search for Suzanne Spooner Official. Okay. That's all I've got for you. I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I have. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
What's the very first thing that you notice?
I noticed a tree to my left.
Okay.
And grass to my right, like a meadow. And it's kind of dark, like it was nighttime. It got darker, not scary, kind of like outer space.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
But the first thing I noticed when I came down was this meadow. So I'm just in the meadow.
Tell me more about the meadow as you look out into the distance around it. What do you see?
Looks like there's another tree line, but it looks like there's some buildings over there of some kind.
Do you get a sense of what they're like, the buildings?
I can't tell yet. They're square shaped. They're not towers per se.
Okay. And the meadow closer around you there, as you look around you, what do you notice then?
So it looks like I'm in a tree opening. There's a tree line around me. The grass is maybe knee deep. It hasn't been cut. And I'm walking across it.
Oh, wow. Well, bring your focus to yourself as you're walking through that taller grass. When you look down, do you see your feet?
I have boots on.
What do your boots look like?
Very, very rounded around the toes. They kind of come up high enough to about the middle of my calf. Although my legs look like maybe I've got shorts on or something.
You can see maybe the upper part of your legs?
I got hairy legs.
Okay. What does it feel like you're wearing on the body?
It's some kind of shorts, not modern though. I feel like I've got like a loose fitting white, like a cloth shirt.
Does it go over the shorts?
It falls down onto them, but not over. Just and maybe the shirt ties with cord, no buttons.
And can I go back to the boots? Do you get a sense of what they're made out of or any other? understanding?
some kind of animal skin.
Okay.
They're large winter type boots, but it's not winter time.
Oh, interesting.
It appears to be fall.
And do you feel that you're carrying anything in your hands?
No, I feel like I have long hair though, but not like a woman's hair.
Okay. Do you get a sense of a color of your hair?
Well, yeah, it's a dark color.
Do you wear anything on your head?
No, I don't have a hat on or anything, but it's just dark hair, but it's not kept.
Okay, not kept.
It's kind of like I work in the forest.
Okay. Well, then, so does your body feel more male or female?
Male.
Do you feel young or old?
20s, 30s.
And does your...
No.
Oh, go ahead.
I feel grown. I feel like I'd be an adult.
Okay. Does your body feel healthy or not?
Yes, healthy.
Great. And do you wear any jewelry or ornamentation or marking on your body?
No. I think my arms are mostly bare. The shirt just doesn't go very far down the arms,
Gotcha.
and I can sense as I'm walking. I sense a fire. Out in the open. It's a man-made fire.
Okay. Do you get a sense of what's going on there?
No, I don't sense any people, but I sense a cabin, like a barn opening. Like this is a farm of some kind.
Oh, okay. Do you feel a connection to it or not?
I'm walking towards it. I don't sense it's home.
Okay. Are you with others or are you on your own?
I'm going there to visit somebody.
Okay. Okay. And how do you spend your time usually during the day? What do you like to do?
Well, I sense there's a female there
Okay.
that I'm going to visit.
Okay. You're doing great. And so you're headed that way. And once you're there, then what happens?
So she sees me, and she's got a dress of some kind on, long dress, long sleeved, whitish. I sense she has blonde hair. I can't tell. It's like maybe there's something, like it's a special day of some kind.
Oh.
But I sense her parents are around, but I don't know where they are.
Okay. And she was waiting for you?
And she was waiting.
And what is your feelings for her?
I feel like we're dating.
Okay.
I almost sense like we're going to get married today.
Okay. Wow. What do you think about that?
I don't know I don't know. Like, I look at myself again, I said, I'm not necessarily dressed, but I could be. Maybe the white shirt I have on is proper attire.
Okay. And then what do you notice?
So we do greet each other. She wants to take my hand and run off into the woods.
Okay. What do you decide
away
to
from
do?
her parents.
Oh.
And I tell her I'm not sure we should.
Okay. She must be very happy to see
Yeah.
you. And then what happens?
I think her dad comes out. And so we talk. He knows me.
What is he like?
He's obviously older, little bit rougher. I think he approves of my courting his daughter. He's encouraging me to ensure that I have a proper job and can take care of her. And I sense his wife is in the kitchen preparing food. So I don't sense this as a wedding day. I think maybe we're preparing for that.
Okay. Like
But today's not the day.
Today's not the day, but he approves of you, and it looks like things are going forward. And what is it about her that makes you want to spend your life with her?
I don't know. She's real happy.
Oh, nice.
Bubbly. Playful. I sense she likes to dance, and I'm maybe a little more stoic than that. But...
Okay. And you believe that you can meet the dad's expectations of taking care of her?
Mm-hmm. Although I don't know, not sure where I live or what I do.
Well, let's do this. Let's leave that scene you're looking at. Let's drift and float to where you live in that time, where you eat and sleep at. You're there now. And describe for me what that is like.
I'm in a small room. Pretty basic. Small bed, a stove, mostly for heat. I sense there's a number of these small cabins in this area.
What's the purpose of the small cabins?
Where those of us that work, that's where we're living. We each have our own little small cabin. And they're kind of aligned around a central area in a circle.
Is there anything inside that circle area?
Maybe a fire pit, but I think we, almost like we've been indentured to someone to do work, to do farm chores. And I sense that I may be coming to the end of that.
Okay. Like
indenture.
there was a time period that you had to do that work?
Right.
Okay. And when you're doing your work during that time, what does that consist of?
I sense I'm anxious to get out of it, out of that place, because I think it's just. I think I may do some blacksmith work.
Okay. And what do you think life will be like when you're done serving that indentured time?
I think we want to run off and move away from that area.
Okay. Do you get a sense of why or how you got into that situation of being an indentured servant?
I sense that we had just come to this country, this area, by boat. And this is what we were given. And we were paying back. There's like a foreman, he's dressed in black. And I think that's how we earned our way across the ocean.
Okay.
And that we owe him a certain number of years, and I'm coming to the end of it.
Okay.
I think since I arrived as a young boy.
Okay. So you left home, went on the boat, and then arrived and had to work off your time for your passage?
Right.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay, and you're at the end of that now.
And he's letting me go. He was a kind master, if you will.
What was he like? Tell me more.
He knew I was a rambunctious young boy. But I sense he was like a father to all of us. It was like a bunch of boys that had come under his care like this. And he was, I sense he was proud that I had worked well, and he knew of the girl, and he approved of it.
Well, that's nice. All right. Anything else about the others that you lived around or the work that you did that stands out to you?
I sense I had one or two really good friends, but they're not ready to leave.
But you feel that you are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm just anxious to get away and with my future bride.
Yes. It's very exciting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, whatever has happened has happened. We're going to drift and float to an important day in that life that you're viewing, a day when something important is happening. And now you're there. And now what do you notice?
We've had our first child.
Oh.
We're living in another cabin. But this one's ours. This one, I sense I built it.
And what is that cabin
and
like?
It's just off. It's near the forest, and it's got its own field. We've got a child now. I sense there are threats in the entire environment, but we're not worried at the moment.
And what's the child like?
Wrapped in swath, just cloth. Not a lot of hair. It's a boy. My wife's holding him.
And what are your thoughts now that you're a father?
Actually, just a little nervous that I can take care of him.
Right.
And protect him.
Do you still do the blacksmith work or do you do something else?
No, I'm just a farmer.
Okay. How do you like being a farmer?
It's not my life's goal. But we just enjoy living on our own.
Are you close to her family or where you were indentured at?
No, I don't sense we're that close.
Okay. Kind of started at just your own.
I sense there's some hills behind our home. We've moved off to a different area. Just fairly secluded.
She's had the baby, and what else is going on around that time?
I sense there's some Indians, but they've been peaceful to us.
Have you come across them before?
I sense they're out there, and maybe I have. They're not there now.
Is that what you were referring to earlier, that there's things to worry about, but everything is good now? Or was that something else?
Because you just don't know.
Right. Do you have neighbors by you, or?
No, there's a creek that runs off to the right of our property, if you will. And I sense there's a city on the other side of the creek. A ways away, though. It's probably a day's ride. I think I have horses.
You have horses, okay. Do you ever travel into the city, or do you just stay where you're at?
We tend to avoid it, but it's
Why do you
Kind of
tend
an
to?
old Western town.
Oh, okay. Why do you like to avoid it?
Just too much activity. There's a, it's not a, maybe a dozen or so buildings. There's a big church.
Okay. Doing really good. And anything else going on that day that your son arrives?
No, just trying to enjoy the moment with our new son.
All right. All right, you're doing very good. Let's go ahead and leave that scene. Let's drift and float to another important day. And now you're there. And what's going on now?
I'm older. I think I may be dying, maybe getting close.
Oh, what's going on with the body?
I have my wife is older. She's there. There's at least 2 boys. I think there's more children around. There's some grandkids around too.
Do you get a sense what's happening with the body, why it's finishing up?
I sense it's just old age.
Old age. As you look back on that life with your wife and your kids, is there anything that stands out to you?
Actually, just a fairly boring life.
Okay.
Just raised a number of kids. They're all doing quite well. I sense that we enjoyed our secluded life.
That really worked out well for you?
Something about the church that I don't understand.
Oh, what's the first thing that comes to mind about the church?
We didn't fit. We just didn't fit in with that church.
And how did you feel about that?
We just avoided them. I think it created some amount of animosity, but we don't care.
Okay. All right. Now, let's go to the very last day of that life. And now you're there. And whatever has happened. You've left that body, drifting and floating back to the spirit side. And now you're there. And from this perspective, you can look back on that life and know and see everything that was important about it. What were some of the lessons that you learned in that life?
Actually, I can see down. I can see my body, my family around it. They're sad, but not distraught. I sense that's because they understand, which may have been some of the issues with the church.
What do you think they have a good understanding of?
That we don't die. They're almost kind of happy for me.
Aw, how does that make you feel?
And I'm happy for them. It's easier to let me go.
Sounds like you guys really understood each other.
They can take care of themselves.
Yeah. What else did you learn in that life?
Not to trust.
Not to trust?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Just not to believe everything everybody says and tells you. To be your own person.
Okay.
To do good. To be good. To work hard. Not to judge. With a peaceful mind, others will be peaceful back.
Those are great lessons. What would you say your purpose in that life was?
Just to be. I don't sense it was a hard life. I sense it was just. It was a time to just connect with the land.
Do you get a sense of what made you decide to leave where you came from on that boat?
Since there was a war going on back in the other land,
Right. Tell me what you can about that.
I just see a lot of fire, a lot of people running, trying to get away. I sense most of us that left were not part of the war. We were just being impacted by it. And I think a lot of the parents were releasing their kids, sending them off to protect them.
Okay, and that's what got you under the tutelage of that man?
Right. And I sense it was agreed upon beforehand, and that they picked this man because he was treated nicely.
Do you get a sense about the family that you left behind, what that was like?
I sense they were just simple country folk caught up in this war that was pretty violent. I sense guns were involved. Cannons, lots of fire. I was too young. I don't know if I know who is who.
Right. Do you get a sense of what it was like for you when you were on the boat?
Boring. just rocking day by day. I think we were trying to play games on the deck, but the captain wasn't real happy with us for running around on the deck.
And then you arrive to the new land and start that life?
That was kind of scary, but
Probably made some friends on the boat.
But he took us in quickly, and I think as young boys we lived together in a small dormitory. It wasn't until we were older that they put us in the cabins.
I see. And taught you how to be a blacksmith and...
That's where they trained us up for different jobs, and we were encouraged to learn all of them so that we could live on our own.
Wow.
Because back in the day, you had to have a lot of different skills.
Right. I bet that helped you as a farmer later on in your life.
It helped me live alone.
Very good. You're doing... Anything else about that life that stands out?
I sense that part of the purpose was to learn that connection
That connection of what?
with the land, with the understanding the true spiritual nature of the land.
Do you feel like you understood that well by the end of your life?
And that's why we avoided the church,
Okay.
because we could be there with it just communicate with the trees and the
All right, you're doing so very good. You're
maybe, I don't know if we had, and I've heard of fairies. I don't know if I saw any or had any, but
you sure could have in that spiritual connection with the land that
Right.
you had. Doing so good. All right. Now that
I sense maybe that's what the war was about too, but I don't know.
oh, what do you sense about that?
That they were coming to eradicate the non-believers. And so that's part of the reason they got us out of there. We never lost those beliefs. We just learned how to survive in a different community.
Oh, okay. So you grew up with that belief, the connection with the land.
Right.
That makes sense. All right, you're doing great. Now you're back on the spirit side after you left that body. Take a look around and tell me what that is like for you, the spirit side.
I still sense I'm floating.
Oh, how does that feel to be floating?
But I'm turning away from my body.
Yeah. And what is it like once you do that?
It's white.
It's white. Is it like a shiny white or a dull white?
It's just like all white.
Oh.
It's not like a single bright light. It's just all white.
How does it feel to be in that light, that white?
I'm floating into it.
Mm-hmm. And just describe for me what you notice.
I'm just in the whiteness.
Do you feel like you have form or no form?
I sense I've kept my form,
Okay.
but I sense it's dissolving.
What is that like when it dissolves?
It's okay. I mean, I'm just turning back into the light.
Oh.
But I can just sense I'm still conscious.
And once you
But
dissolve back into the light, then what do you notice?
I want to sense there's something on the other side, but I'm not seeing it.
Do you have a sense of what you'll be doing while you're in that light?
I sense at this point I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm not afraid or scared or anything.
Mm-hmm. Does it feel like you're there on your own or you're there with others?
I felt I was alone, but now I'm sensing there's others like me all around
Oh, wow.
that have just made the transition themselves.
Mm-hmm. And when you're finished waiting, now you're done with the waiting, then what happens?
I feel like I'm greeted by somebody, some energy, not a form.
And what is it like to be greeted by that energy?
They're it's kind of like they're holding my hand, taking me inward.
And then what do you notice?
We're coming into like maybe like a city on a hill with homes everywhere,
Oh my.
or buildings of some kind everywhere.
How would you describe those?
They're all very colorful,
Oh. Tell me more.
all different colors. Now we're just kind of floating over them.
Mm-hmm. What else do you observe there?
There's people down below, but now we're coming down in front of some large doors.
Oh, tell me what the doors are like, please.
They're like large iron. There's like carvings on them.
Do you get a sense what the carvings look like?
With the what?
Do you get a sense? Let me just let that pass. Do you get a sense of what the carvings look like on the doors?
There's like a arch. I think the doors are square, but there's like a carving of an arch on each of the doors, separate. There's leaves. I think there's a tree on each door. Each door has a tree growing up under this arch.
Wow. And what do you do next?
The doors push open on the inside. They open inwardly,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of different. Now I sense there's a lot of people around.
What are the people like?
Friends, family,
Yeah, tell me more.
they're greeting me.
Aw. Tell me all you can.
My mom's there, but she doesn't stand out. And I think my dad's there too.
Oh, nice.
My stepfather. But there's all sorts of other people.
Okay. And they're all there to greet you?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Wow. And what do you do next?
Just walk in and try to take it in.
It must feel very nice.
Yeah, they're standing apart from me, but smiling and welcoming.
And then what do you do?
But now we're embracing. But I feel comfortable. It's like they're saying, "Welcome home."
Oh.
I don't feel any animosity towards any of them or anything. It's just, I know some of them have been in, there's so many. Some of them I know have been in recent lives, some in more distant lives. I don't recognize all of them.
But you feel a connection to them?
But I feel we all know each other.
Yeah. Wow.
It's almost as if you've gone to an old high school reunion,
Yeah.
and they're all around and you know them, but you don't have strong connections with them.
Right. And so then what do you do after that?
Just walk on in, and then it's almost like we're going to have a big banquet. Big long tables. It's kind of a celebration.
Tell me about the celebration.
The table's set with food and ale. And we're just catching up. We're just talking.
Do you have form now, or are you still the energy?
Do I what?
Do you have form like a body, or are you more just energy?
I think we're energy. I think I'm seeing them in form that I would recognize.
I see. That makes sense.
And again, the ones I don't recognize, I can't see faces. I just sense there's a form there. But I know I have a relationship with them of some kind.
And the celebration, what is that for?
It's just quiet, but it's just eating. And we're catching up.
And what do you learn as you're catching up? What stands out to you during that time?
I'm trying to understand what's going on.
Do you feel like you're the guest?
Okay, yeah, like, okay, this is nice, but now what? So I'm just curious.
So when the celebration is done, then what do you do?
So most of them are leaving. I sense that just a handful of us are hanging around.
Do you get a sense of why?
Just nowhere to go at the moment. But I sense that some of them, some of the ones I'm not as close to, are getting ready to depart.
Oh,
Meaning go back into another life.
okay.
And they're here to say, to be with me at this time, but they're ready to leave. And they're ready to go.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm happy for them.
Oh, next adventure for them?
Yeah.
What do you feel like you'll be doing between then and before you decide to go off?
I honestly don't know. I'm still new here.
Right.
But it confirms that I knew I didn't die.
Right. Your beliefs in that life
Yeah,
are correct.
what I knew it makes me wonder, in our earthly lives, how did we ever get here? How did we ever get to that other belief? It makes me want to know more. Like, what happened? What happened in those earthly lives?
Right.
But nobody here is going to tell me.
Oh.
Not now, anyway.
Why is that, do you think?
I just don't know. I think they're just giving me a chance to rest and catch up.
Yeah, it is really important to rest.
Because I think they know I know. And that I sense that there's so much history
Right.
that even though I may want it, it's too much.
So it's now just a nice time to rest.
Yeah, and not get bombarded.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I know you could have brought forth many different lifetimes to show Dave today. Why did you show him this life of the young boy that took a boat and started his life over in a new land? Why was that important for him to see?
Because it's boring.
That life was boring?
Not every life is going to be some big grand adventure.
And why is it important that not every life be a big adventure?
Because I think that's one of the reasons he searches to find that life, perhaps that he searches for those lives where he had an important role. But this life was to teach him that every role is important. That by living that life, it was a quiet life, and I choose to call it boring because nothing traumatic or dramatic happened. There was no new karma generated in that life. It was a chance to know that, to acknowledge his beliefs and recognize that what's important is those beliefs.
And what beliefs from that life were most important to him?
That we don't die, that we do live, that we are all connected, that everything is connected, everything is energy, and that there are those that are still hiding. That as he had learned, and he still does today to some degree, that hiding from the establishment. But there's really no need.
What is the root reason for that concern of his of, being in front of law, or where did that begin at for him?
I think a lot of people have died because of their beliefs throughout history. Something that is to be overcome needs to end.
What do you want him to understand about that?
And he knows that, but
And in that life, though, although we're calling it a boring life, as a little one, he had to sail on a big boat, lose his family, start a new life. That was pretty dramatic there for a young child to live through.
no. We always start new lives.
Right.
Every transition is a new life. Everything that happens is a new life. Every time we go anywhere and do anything, it's a new life. There's no fear. There's no fear in those transitions.
And how does that relate to his current life?
There's been transitions. He's made his transitions. And he's had family members. Not to worry for them. not to be concerned about the lives they've lived and their purposes. Each has their own path. More transitions are coming.
What can you share with him about that?
Celebrate them.
Aw. Is there anything else about that life that you showed him that you want him to understand more deeply?
He created, in that life, he knew that positive energy, being nice, being good, being compassionate, is what got him through that life. And he shared that with others, his family. And he was given the opportunity to live a life like that. And he made the best of it.
His connection to nature in that life, what can you share with him about that?
He's always had that. He shouldn't forget.
In this life, when he was running and the trees were talking to him, can you share more from your perspective about that experience?
There it was, right there.
Right.
It's always been there. He remembered that day. And when he was up looking at the clouds, he remembered on that run too. He had gotten himself into the state where he could do that.
Tell him more about that state.
Releasing everything. Releasing everything and just seeing. Just looking at it with new eyes. He knows that. He learned that from his puppy.
Oh.
He's written about it. To learn to see things through a puppy's eyes.
Oh. What are the most important things that he learns from his puppy?
The world is new. Every day there's something new. You can choose to make it scary, or you can choose to make it peaceful and happy. It's a choice.
Those are very big life lessons, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as you know, he came into this session with a wonderful list of questions. Would it be okay if we get started on that?
Sure.
And would it be appropriate to ask for a scan of his body, please?
I think I'd like to show him something else first.
Yeah, sure. Just please describe for me, if you can, what you would like to show him. That's wonderful.
When he was floating, he saw the pyramids poking above the clouds.
Oh, okay. Tell us all you can, please.
But he drifted away from those
Oh,
to a different life.
okay.
And just know that you have lived there. They are part of you.
If he would have chosen to experience that lifetime, what would he have learned? Is there anything in those Egyptian lives that you want him to know right away? Or was it just for him to be aware that there are lifetimes with the pyramids?
Okay, I know I've lived those lives. And I'm not sensing any information on them at this time.
Okay, no worries. We'll come back to that topic anyways. That's no problem. Is there anything else you want him to know before we start looking at his body?
Know that you think you know that you know more than you think you do.
When he knows that he knows more than he thinks he does, what does he do with that?
Find it, discover it. There's an energy that occurs when you find and connect these ancient wisdoms. It's not always just given to the initiate.
Mm-hmm.
The initiate needs to seek them. That's part of their journey. That's part of the lesson. Which is why I'm quiet.
Okay. Has
There's a
he...
debate on what should be given and what should be just learned and found.
Sure. Well, we're grateful for all and any information you can give him today to help with his knowledge. And
Would he have gone to Egypt if we told him all about his lives there?
well, that was kind of a question.
Probably not. Probably not. Then he would have missed that experience.
What, from your perspective, do you think he learned from his experience of being in Egypt?
There was a reason for that group to be there.
And tell us more about that.
They were all learning on their own. They needed to discover what that was for. But had we told him, we're not sure he would have gone. The timelines might have been different for that. But there was a growth experience for him and for everybody there.
It was a magical group, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. They're all on their own paths, but they all got something out of each other, and that was the plan.
Had that group been together before in other times?
We've all been together at different times. we are all one.
Right.
Life is infinite. To say that there's any one time or another time or just that time is irrelevant because there's so many times. That everything is always together with all each other.
Right. Time's an illusion, isn't
So
it?
have we? Yes. In different ways, in different forms, in different capacities. Sometimes touching closely, sometimes touching at a distance.
So, as you explain in that first session where he couldn't be told about his connection to Egypt, and he followed his intuition for him to take the trip to Egypt, what
He's a seeker. Seekers seek. It's like a hunter who enjoys the hunt.
What do you feel he was seeking?
He seeks the wisdom. He's found much. But it's like the hunter who lives for the hunt. It's not the prize, it's the journey. We're careful what to give. Just enough to keep him on this path. Just enough to reassure him of his direction. But not enough to give the answers.
What would you share with him about his direction?
He's lived his purpose every step of the way. There's more steps to come. But he's expanding out of his ego mind more and more. As are many others.
What is it like for him when he expands out of his ego mind?
He gets a thrill. It's like winning a prize, which is nice. If that's a motivation, that's good. That's okay. He's got that A-type personality. Which shows forth. But he's learned a lot in his earthly lives. He may or may not have many more. And part of it was to get out of it what he could.
Well, he mentioned earlier that he's felt that life is meant to experience as much as possible.
In a good way.
Right. How has he done this time around with all of that?
This one was purposely given to have a few more challenge, a few more, shall we say, handicaps, which were part of what was to drive the paths. Part of it is he has good eyesight. And part of that was to teach him about the beauty around him. He's learned that lesson.
Being a pilot has to give him a view of beauty that some don't have.
To rise above it all. But in his photography, he sees beauty. He's learning to capture it to see what is unseen, to see beyond the mundane. I wouldn't say that this would be his last Earth adventure. But he's done well in breaking past karmic connections. That make it easier to go other places.
Has all of his lives been on Earth or in other places?
He's been on other places.
What were those lives
But-
like?
But he spent a lot of time here. He got a glimpse last time of the earth from an otherworldly perspective. Again, just a simple reminder. A prize on the path of seeking.
All right. Thank you for that. As you look through his, excuse me, as you look through his body, is there anywhere in his body that is requesting healing or repair?
Bodies age. That's part of the earthly experience. We feel it in his hand, obviously his knees.
He's had some discomfort there. When you focus on his knees, what are you seeing as the root reason behind that discomfort?
It's important for him to stand on his own. He's had past lives where they intentionally damaged his knees. And while this life he did not intentionally, it was a memory that got embedded in those knees.
Oh. What does he need to understand about the memories that have been embedded in the knees?
Just what you would call a karmic connection. To experience it and release it.
Well, now,
We've never fully taken away the use of his knees.
what is it about standing on his own that you want him to fully understand?
not to bow down. Not to bow down to others. We are all equals. Every life is equal. Every life is important. In the end, everything is equal. And those that would have us be bow down, again, that's part of what he learned in the life we showed him. Not to bend the knee. But in a peaceful way.
Well, now that he understands this and it's about experiencing and releasing, what are you doing to heal the knees for him?
The knees will serve him on what he has left in this life. Whether it's healed or not is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a physical body, though, it's nice to not to have the pain or discomfort, to move with the ease.
It shifted his path, which is what he wanted.
Okay. Okay, so it's serving its purpose?
Yes, it will not give him great discomfort in the future.
If he feels discomfort there, what is the message that's trying to get through to him?
Go easy.
Go easy, okay. That makes sense.
Go easy.
What will he notice differently about his knees after this session, I wonder?
Maybe not a lot, because they don't give him a lot of discomfort. It's only when he overuses them. And he knows not to overuse them now.
And that's why it's important to go easy?
We will, yes. We will lighten the load.
Nice, thank you. He'll learn a lot from what you're sharing with him here today. You mentioned his hands as well. What do you see going on with his hands?
Age.
How does he experience that?
Arthritis.
Okay. And what's important for him to understand about that?
So that he has compassion for others. That he understands what others have been through. We give him many life lessons in this life. Again, we are preparing him for a big different direction.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Not in this life, but onwards and upwards, if you will, to other learnings, other places.
Wow. So he's being prepared in this life for that?
Like I said, this may not be his last earth life.
Right. But the groundwork's being laid?
But we're cleaning up. He's not alone in this.
He's what?
He's not alone in this.
Alone in this. Oh. How can he help himself in that preparation, I wonder?
Just enjoy it. Seek it. That's good. But do not worry in the not finding. You know, and you know where it counts. The universe is infinite. You are literally incapable of withholding that knowledge in this life form. You were shown it once. Only because it is incapable to have in this life form. It taught you to seek. But had we let you have that, you would not have lived. The energy is far too great. To give you the knowledge would take away the fun of the seeking. You cannot retain it anyway. It is a hobby. Enjoy it as a hobby.
Are you referring by any chance to that microsecond where he understood everything in
Yes.
the universe?
Yes.
Well, he does want to know, what was that and what happened? Did he go somewhere?
He needed a kick in the ass.
Why?
So we gave him just enough to keep him interested, so to speak.
Okay. But what did he experience in that tiny flash?
He experienced a much higher dimension. We carefully pulled his essence out of his body. And he re-entered so quickly so as to do no harm to the body, the physical. There was no ability to remember.
If he could...
But it helped him remember. While he exists in those other dimensions, as you would call them, he came here for an earthly life. We reminded him which has helped him keep his connection. But he did well in serving his purpose, which was to live that life. Which is part of the reason for that blood.
Oh, right, because he said he wanted...
Punch him in the nose, bud.
Oh, gosh. Well, you're referring to when he was in the shower and he wanted a sign that things were real?
Yes.
And he saw red in the water?
Mm-hmm.
And he asked for that? He asked to see red?
He just wouldn't stop.
He likes, what did he say?
So we gave him a physical
Okay.
punch in the nose, if you will.
That's what he calls his signy or sign.
Yep. Yes.
That's funny. The feeling, though, that he had in that split second remains, and he treasures that. What is important for him to understand about that feeling?
That is reality. This earth life is an adventure. We have the adventures because it's fun and it's a place to learn and a place to experience things that cannot be experienced anywhere else. And there are those who choose to make that a positive adventure. And there are those who choose to experience it in different ways. And there has been, for some time, a cancer, if you will, that has been allowed in the earth. And those that choose, as we've mentioned, to bend the knee, to those belief systems. I am not talking religion. I am talking negative constructs, mean constructs, as you would call them evil. There is no evil, but you would sense them as evil. And those constructs have taken hold in the minds of many in the physical. Those memory we gave him was enough and has served its purpose, which to keep him in that direction. Because times do come in life where you are forced to choose whether you will allow those parents, if you will, who may have treated you in certain ways. You have a choice to choose what you will do with that. Whether you will stand on your own and make a life for yourself, just like the life we showed him. Are you going to make that boring, peaceful, loving life? Are you going to choose to take a path where you harm others who may be seeking that peaceful life? That is the freedom you have in the earth lives. You don't get those other places necessarily, or you get them in different ways, which is fine. That's the different way. But that's this life. This life, the earthly beings have that choice of free will. It's not everywhere. And we wish those, while we wish them, people, to take the other direction, And we can nudge them, and we can give them hints. We can give them flashes of moments of beauty and joy and love and bliss. But what they choose is up to them.
Wow.
We have given seekers, we encourage seekers so that they may come together and seek. As your speaker here today has given you and others. That is part of her purpose, and she knows this. We do not need to tell her. In giving those opportunities to find themselves, and that is what is important. And what they do with it and what they do with their choices is on their own. And we can encourage paths, but there is learning in the other path as well. Never forget that everything is equal and everything has a purpose, and there is no bad. Everything is for the good. But right now, at this time, there is more paths that need to come about in what you would call the positive, the spiritual path, if you will. There needs to be that balance. Some may call that the Great Awakening, which is fine, and which it is. But it is for that balance. To hold back those other forces. Because when we come into this life, we are born anew. We have forgotten. We are weak. We are impressionable. And while sometimes we come into that life for that impression, to have that type of life, not everybody is. And not everybody should be forced to be impressioned and be forced down one way. And even then you still always have a choice to come out of it. This is what this time is bringing right now. This time is bringing much bigger difficulties than what he experienced in that peaceful life. In a time where that peaceful life was easy to find and to experience. It's not as easy to find and experience these days. Not everybody can run off into the woods and live in the mountains. That would just corrupt the mountains and the forest and those peaceful places. So we need to find it here. We need to find it in this life, in this existence, in this, as we live now. It is everywhere. It's the choice you make and whether or not you're going to take it and be it and seek it. You can seek that through reading a book. You can seek that through taking a walk. You can seek that in saying hello to your fellow man as you pass them by in the street. That's what you choose to do. And those that have discovered this, we are looking for you to be examples. You don't have to go out of your way and be a spiritual teacher and a guru. Just say hello to the people on the street you meet. Treat them with a kind word. Plant that seed that will blossom in them. That seed may be that moment of glory which he's experienced. And that one kind voice may be that spark that keeps them on their divine path. We never know, and you may never know. But be it that they are all here now. There are those coming that know. This being Dave was an early one sent and given. He knows he came because there is so much joy on earth and so many fun things to experience, and he wanted to have them all. He can't. There's not enough time in your being on this earth for all of those things. But he also wanted to come to help. And while he has lived his life in what you would call a grounding way, which is perfectly fine, that's what the earth is for. And we gave him some tough challenges for the very reason, so that he doesn't have to keep coming back. He can choose other experiences, other ways. But he was also sent here, just as your practitioner knows. She knows what her mentor said about those that came, that were sent, that were coming. She understands them. This one came early. It is our understanding that some have had a hard time with this. He has not. Because he knew he wanted a grounded life, and he wanted an earthly life. And he was able to keep those in balance. And he had to learn to remember on his own. While we poked him, when he asked, we poked him. We literally punched him in the nose.
When he wanted proof?
When he wanted proof. But he wants so much of it, as he says. He calls it, he wants a signier sign. We can't just give it all away. That would take away from his experiences that he asked for.
Thank you for
We
that.
hope we make this understandable.
Oh, it's fascinating. Yes, thank you for every bit of that information. I think it'll be very, very helpful for him and for anybody that listens to this. My gosh. Well, back to his body, if I may. He wonders, has he learned his lesson regarding his hearing loss? And can he now restore his hearing?
This is a tough one.
Why?
He knows he was part of turning this off.
He understands that to be when he was in
Yes.
in the womb and his parents were arguing.
And it was a choice. And while it was made early, it was a choice. And at this time, we cannot freely give it all back. We will help him. We will help him as we can.
Just out of curiosity, why can you not give it to him all?
He has a few more things to learn.
What would those
with
be?
this. Understanding and patience with those around him. It will not get worse, and it will get better.
It will get better?
It will get better.
Is there anything else you want him to work on to help it improve?
Be patient. That is all.
So if he is understanding his impatience of those around him and to be patient, that will help bring the hearing back?
He's learning to communicate to others differently. Not everything is voice. He's learning to use his energy and what he surrounds himself with, the energy he puts out, how he puts it out. How he embraces others with that energy, how he spreads that. That's still part of this lesson that is being learned. And part of the communication he needs to make with others is not just people. It's the environment around him. It's the other life. It is the trees. It is the forest. It's the animals. While we speak of humans in the choices they make, remember, Earth is also a place for many other beings who also are here choosing what they get out of their life. And while they may be more adaptive to the energies of the universe and can sense them and live with them and be part of them and communicate through them, part of what Dave is learning also is the communication back with those other beings. Again, in the life we showed him, he knew more of that connection. He knew of its purpose and why it was purposeful. You may have think we gave him a boring life. There's much in that life that is part of what he is learning, relearning, recapturing. That when we speak of helping others, when we speak about saying hello on the street, those that have a voice and have the hearing should use it to its fullest. But that is not the only way. There is other way. There is energy. There is human touch. There is those that you would call that do Reiki. There are other ways to communicate and help others and heal others. Never forget that. To have a voice and not use it in its simplest form and have the hearing and not use it is a waste. And because he does not have it fully, it is not gone. It is actually fairly strong. He just needs to recall that and make the best of it, but not lose focus on all the other ways to connect. Others would do well to do that. And while technology has opened vast opportunities to connect with others in a very positive way, it also has distracted from those other means of connection and communication. Take advantage of what you have in balance. That is all.
Okay. What are your thoughts about the hearing aids that he's using currently?
Positive step in the right direction.
And why so?
Because even if we did heal him, it takes time. And these devices will help him heal. Stay on this path. We will lighten the load as we can.
Can I ask a question? If he wouldn't have decided to turn his hearing down while he was in the womb to avoid hearing his father yelling, how would his path in this life have been different, I wonder?
There was a good chance he could buy into that way of being. And was the fastest way to get away from that way of being and into a much kinder, gentler life, learning other forms. Same with the earlier knee issue. That was not his path to play football.
When he was young and he injured the knee?
That was not the path. Nor he's had those things happen because he does like to excel, which is nothing wrong with that. There are those that came here to excel. But that as your only path was not his path. And sometimes a good kick in the shins, so to speak, was one way to get his attention.
Right. All right. Thank you.
And he knows that. He innately knows that, and he knows this other knee is not irreparably damaged. He knows that. But he also knew it was time for a different path.
And going forward and on his path,
he had gotten from what he was doing, he had gotten what he was meant to learn from that.
Beautiful.
This path, this life, was to close off as many lessons as possible But the risk is too many can absorb the entire life if not careful. Any one can absorb the whole life. Others have a way of breaking that, and it does devour their whole life. This one has been purposeful twists and turns.
Literally and figuratively, it sounds like.
Yes, literal and figurative.
All right. Well, he wanted the whole experience, right?
Correct.
Well, he does wonder about what he calls AFib. And at what point can he eliminate that from his life, and how can he heal it? As you think on that, we'll just let this noise pass here. Sorry about that.
You got your answer. It's a bodily function. It will not get worse. But those ambulances could have been for him.
Oh, wow.
Not now in particular.
Right. What was the message his body was trying to share with him as those symptoms built up for him?
To acknowledge the importance of his heart. To acknowledge the importance of the love that the heart represents and embraces. To recognize the importance of the heart, not only to live in the physical, but in the energetic. And in that sense, the heart is perfect, but underutilized. And this was a gentle, he has told you he knows how to combat it.
Why? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
But it's not time to take away that reminder.
Why does soy in his food products irritate the AFib symptoms?
It had to be a trigger. The body needed a trigger. And while many things that could cause it, we could have taken away so many other things that create pleasure in his life. We chose that one for multiple reasons. But part of it is to teach him and to continue his path of eating better. And as he learned in Egypt to try new foods, a simple little lesson with a simple little symptom with so many compounded opportunities for him. We're reluctant to take it away at this time.
And the best thing that he can do for himself in regards to the AFib is what?
Stay away from soy. He did well in figuring it out. It was also another opportunity not to blindly believe everything he's told by those in authority positions. Inner knowing is the most powerful. Not that they should be ignored, but they are one factor in any complex equation, but not the only factor. That is all.
Thank you. Is there anything else about his body that you want him to understand more deeply before I move on to his other questions?
He's very sensitive in the touch.
What do you mean by that?
It's part of that energetic communication. Feel free to use touch more often in that communication approach.
All right. Thank you for that. Let's talk about his puppy, Finley. He wants to know, what is his soul contract with Finley?
I don't have that information.
Can I ask if you could find that information somehow?
There are others that can help him find that information.
Would they be available for us just for that one question?
He is aware of them. And we encourage him to use that path.
And that path is exactly what?
There are those that communicate.
Oh, like animal communicators?
Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And there are those that can tap into the soul contract. It's another opportunity for him to learn more other ways to communicate.
Okay. Well, he had mentioned possibly looking into that. He does ask if it's possible to give healing to both his older dog Midas and healing to Finley for his guarding and biting issues.
Touch through the fingertips.
Touch through the fingertips, okay. So he can...
More is transferred there than he knows.
Oh, what exactly is transferred there? He might find that interesting.
Not just positive healing energies, but knowing energies. All life also seeks to know what there is and what is reality. That can come strongly through his fingertips in touching these animals.
What does he receive in return from them, I wonder?
Their compassion. Their gratitude. Their learning and the evolution. We are all evolving, everything, everyone. They need support too, and they need help on their paths.
And so what's the reason that Midas and Finley were matched up with Dave?
Midas for protection. While he is a very loving, he sought them out because Dave can guide him on his path to his next life with higher purpose. And that's why he was specifically chosen, to protect him from potentially other lives. That this one offered him the most love and compassion that he needs to learn, for him to evolve. He seeks to be human. And this opportunity gives him a chance to see the best, or at least nearly the best, that he could get as an example, so that he can remember when the time comes to be what life was like as a dog. Now for Finley, it was for two reasons. One, to help both his humans learn and evolve and learn lessons from his somewhat troubled behaviors, and to learn to focus more of their energy on him, to find ways around and to control those behaviors, but also to give the humans an opportunity to focus on him and his needs, and to give back. Finley seeks love, knows love, and has it and will share it more as he learns his short-term lessons. It will all work out divinely.
All right, thank you for that. Dave would like to know, was he an initiate in the mysteries at the step pyramid? It seemed as though you were alluding to that earlier in the session.
He was a seeker in that life.
The connection that he felt there when he was on our trip in Egypt. What can you
Those
share?
were real connections. I'm choosing to share with him that not all that he believes was truth, but that was a life there. He did live during that time. He continues to gain fragments of those lives. I'm communicating with his ego.
Mm-hmm.
If you will call it, your left brain, as you will call it.
What else is important for him to understand about his lifetime at the step pyramid?
I sense that my higher self has drifted off.
And at the Temple of Edfu, what was important for him to understand about that experience?
I'm not getting anything.
Okay. From your perspective, how did the trip change him by being in those places with the friends that he made, with his spouse?
We've talked a little bit about this and what it did for them collectively.
Mm-hmm. Is there any more that you could share with him? He'll find it so fascinating.
I'm not getting that information.
Okay, no worries. All right. Down to that one last great question. He would like to know, how can he build a stronger connection with you, his high self, his guides, source? What's most important for him to understand about that connection?
He knows we're always here. And he knows his guides are always around him. He's learned that. Sit and listen. Trust those knowings that come in. It will come. That's all.
Okay. How can he tap into his psychic abilities? He would like to develop them to his highest potential, kind of his MO in anything he does in life.
I think I'm coming out of this.
Okay, no worries. You've done fantastic.
I think my higher self is lost his talkative nature.
Okay. Well, he did wonderful. I just want you to stay with your eyes closed. You're doing just fine. I'm just going to bring you out, just nice and natural. Now, I just want you to go with your very first thought, though, on this one question. Is there a final message that you would like to give to Dave before I bring him back up?
We may have come off as being coy with him on our answers. But that was the way it was to be. That life is a discovery. This is not your last chance at these sessions. We've given much, but the purpose is to find those and seek those. That Egypt trip was a huge step for him in more ways than you may know. And it got him so much closer. But those steps, and while we encourage them, are for others as well. We feel a risk of divulging too much. May alter the lessons of learning for others that are in the future by his not knowing. Not knowing can be a blessing and a motivator in its own right. This is allowed. Don't. To say that differently, don't seek the easy answer. Hints along the way are perfectly adequate. But when given, they must be accepted and acted upon. Or they have been lost to the ethers. This is your approach. You may seek our counsel through this means in the future. That is fine. But us in being coy was to help you realize that the seeking in other mechanisms is a path upon itself that touches many others. And if you were to have all those answers, would you do that? That would be a choice. And if we told you who you were and who you were not in Egypt, would that keep you from going back? Would that keep you from seeking it other places that you have lived? And you know, such as Ireland, such as Germany, other places in South America. If you were told all of those things, would you not seek to experience them in this life in such a way that it helps others in their searching? That upon itself is a noble quest. So we seek not to be coy and withhold the answers here, which may be interesting and enlightening for the moment. But the riches, the true riches are out there. The riches in the other 30 lives you touched recently. And each other. That is the richness of this life. You know, you will know when you pass over again. That is fine. If you do not find all the answers here, keep seeking. It is the search. It is the journey that is the value of a life, not the destination, if you will, the final answer. Because in this life, everything is connected, yet the only way in the physical to know that for yourself is to do it in the physical. Seek it in the physical. Seek to touch, to hear, to taste, to feel, to hug, to caress, to embrace. All living beings. Because this is where the true purpose of all eternity lies. You are a special being in that you are where you are. You may say you are better than others in this or that area, but it does not matter. Only in the life. Others may say they are better or not better in this or that. It does not matter. What matters is the journey for all of you collectively. Seek and you will find is an old saying that applies here. So, thank you to your practitioner for inviting us back. Because this is a much better way to handle answering those questions that we did not feel appropriate about answering. This is the proper way. And we appreciate this opportunity with a practitioner who has helped so many into her various mechanisms and touched so many lives. This is her journey. But as she has done it with this approach, for Dave, it is a different mechanism. It is not to be a practitioner. It is to be a practitioned on, so to speak. And an attendee on those voyages up the Nile on the riverboat together. Because that both have value of great importance at this time. And all roles are equal. And this, and we love you all is our final message. That is all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Such beautiful information shared. Is there anything that he didn't ask today that you wish he would have?
He didn't necessarily ask about his bride. But all that we have spoken about is important to her as well. You have had many lives with her. And know that while she is on her path, it is not your path. But they intertwine and they support each other. Seek to provide that support at all times and be grateful for the support she gives you as you do. We encourage this, not that it is necessary, but as simply a reminder that this being entwined in this life was of such importance. We do not want it to be lost or any opportunities to be missed. Go forth, continue. That is all.
All right. Well, thank you for all of this wonderful information that you shared with him today. I'm sure he's going to value it. Just one curious question. Is there anything from the first session that he had to this session that you want him to understand more deeply about the first session?
We are reviewing it. That session was purposeful in that it gave us the opportunity to show him so many things, which obviously piqued his interest. Some of which has been, some which that is, and some that will be. But it was a lot of, shall you say, allegory. That had meanings that, again, were not shared in an obvious fashion. He has figured out much about what he's learned, and he will, let's say, encourage him to re-review it and integrate it with this session. Other things will become clearer.
Beautiful.
That is all.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, Jim, you are one day post your amazing session. What are some of the epiphanies that you've had just in this short time period since you were here yesterday?
Well, a couple of things that I didn't tell you yesterday was in one of the times when my higher self was speaking, it was a different voice. And I was monitoring that, I realized there were other energy beings back behind whoever was speaking, which was kind of amazing, which was interesting. The other one, when we talked about the communication, different ways of communicating,
Right.
I recognized all my fingertips were like lighting up, very energetic and tingling, and I don't know what that means, but that was one of the things I talked about was touch.
Right. You said your touch was very important, is what the high self said. You had healing ability, especially with your dogs.
Right. And the other one was I woke up in the middle of the night and I realized that, despite the fact that I didn't really get any solid healing right away, and some of my questions weren't answered, and like the message I was getting was kind of like, you need to go, remember, just go figure it out. And it reminded me when I woke up in the middle of the night, I remembered as a young buck engineer, one of my first jobs, And I wasn't sure what to do and how to get started, get some help. So I went to my supervisor and I said, you know what I do? And he looked at me and said, Dave, you're an engineer, figure it out. And so that's kind of the message I was getting was, Dave, go figure it out. And again, it reinforces the whole idea that this is my journey to go awaken myself and not be told all my answers that I'm after.
So that brings me back to what we were talking about yesterday. You had a QHHT session a couple of years ago, and you had asked about your interest in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And the answer from the high self was what?
That I was not ready for that information.
You're right.
Like, well, shoot.
And then what did you do after that?
And I was again re-sparked, and all of a sudden, all of these messages started popping up about Egypt trips. And different people that were leading these trips. I go, oh, that one's kind of interesting. I don't think I'd want to go with that group. One of them was right after our backyard wedding, like a month later. I said, well, that one's kind of interesting, but too soon. And then when yours popped up, it was like, that's the one. That is absolutely the one I got to go on. By the time I could attempt to sign up, it was full. And so get a hold of Sarah and say, is there going to be a waiting list? And she said, no. And okay. And she said, just watching if it opens up on the board, on the sign up. So I monitored it, probably weekly, checking in. And then, so last summer, I was out working in the yard. I said, I'm just going to go check. And I went in, I opened up, and it was open. I was like, hey, you want to go? We're going to go? We signed up. Okay. And I got a hold of Sarah. I said, Sarah, we're in, we're going. She said, you what? Her message was, you what? She says, we only opened that for a couple of hours because we had a specific person that needed to sign up, and you just happened to hit it at the exact moment. And I said, okay, well, I'm not going to steal anybody's spot, and we'll wait. And sure enough, we got the call, I think in February, which gave us less than a month to get all the money paid, and off we went.
And so you had this experience in Egypt.
Right. Two experiences. And one of them was at the colonnade at the Step Pyramid, where I broke down in tears. I sensed something. I'm like, what the heck is going on? What am I feeling? And I sensed that I had had a life there as an initiate in training at that site. And that the colonnade held the energy of the initiates. And as you got close to them, you could feel the energy of your initiate class.
Wow.
And then I was getting a bunch of downloads after that. And then we had to leave. I probably should have spent more time there, but we had to leave. The other one was at the Temple of Edfu, where the way the temples are designed, the deeper you go, the more sacred they are, and the less people are allowed in there. In fact, in the most inner chamber, only the high priest and the king are allowed in. And I was walking around it, the outer chambers where they used to have statues and things. And I just got really uncomfortable, like I didn't belong here, like something was wrong. And I stopped, I just went on through and went out and went off and looked at the rest of the building. Later on, we got a chance to go into that most inner chamber,
the Holy of Holies.
And I was a little nervous about this. And it was being repaired, redone, restored, but went in. And while I was in there, I got this really strong message that said, we know who you are, and you don't belong here. But in this life, since you're a civilian is the term they found to use, said, we're going to let you in, but please respect where you're at. I was like, okay, didn't touch anything. As soon as he said it's time to go, boop, I left. But I sense that they weren't admonishing me for being there. They were wanting me to remember who I was in those lives. It was a positive message. And I think that is what sparked me and where I'm at. So.
You know, what I found really interesting in your session yesterday with your amazing, amazing high self was when we were talking about Egypt, it was saying, see, we couldn't have told him about that experience. He had to live the experience.
Right. I think they truly want me to find my memories myself.
Yeah.
And because they're much stronger, they encourage me to go take these kind of trips. I mean, would I have taken this trip if they had given me all the answers? I don't know.
That's what you said, actually.
Right?
Is that
Maybe
you,
not.
Yeah.
If they had already given me all the answers, and so we'll just have to see. So.
Well, it was a fun check-in yesterday about Egypt, and you talked about the group and that was there, and we got little bits of information. You were very chatty on every subject other than Egypt.
and I recall in the introduction, I was on the cloud and we're drifting, and I could see the pyramids poking through the clouds. Like, oh, here we go. But then all of a sudden we turned, and off we went over the ocean. And I went into that life, which was, as described, a boring life. But in the end, everything that occurred in that boring life tied in some way to who I am now and my current life experience. So it's pretty amazing that despite that it wasn't an Egyptian life or something that I might have wished for,
Right.
it had so much meaning because it proved so much to me about what I believe, who I am, what I know. Just amazing.
The characteristics from that life that you carry on through this life.
Oh yeah, just
so amazing, isn't it? Just sometimes when we see those lifetimes, we're wondering, what in the heck, how does that mean anything? But by the end, it's like all those loose strings come into this perfect formulation of understanding of why you were showing what you were. And afterwards hearing, actually I think it was your high self said about the pyramids coming up through the clouds as you were drifting around, and I'm like, oh shoot, we could have had an Egypt life here, but it's not what you were meant. It was meant for you to notice, and it carried on throughout the rest of the session. But it was that boring life that you call it. But I'm telling you, I thought it was rock star. It was really cool. But that was the one that helped tie in a lot of understandings about the current life.
Okay.
Beautiful. Great job.
Just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.